Hello and welcome to Overwatch Database. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host Connor, and today we're going to be bringing you the first of 20 team previews we're going to do. Just a little backstory before we get started. Connor and me both are avid players of the game and Overwatch League in general. I've been a fan personally since day one, and him more recently. And so we just thought, it'd be cool to create a show talking about it and sharing opinions and stuff with the community and all of that.
Yeah, so adding on to that, this channel is not just a Overwatch League breakdown channel or anything like that. We're also going to be doing stuff on game updates, experimental cards, patch notes, leaks if they happen, anything like that. So Brett's more of the Overwatch League guy. I'm kind of in the background for that. Whereas I'm more in the front lines for everything else, I guess, because, like he said, I've come into the Overwatch League scene more recently, so I'm not as avid of a understander of that stuff as he is. So I'll let him get started on all that stuff for today.
Alrighty, so I guess we'll just jump right into it. We're gonna do the Los Angeles Gladiators first. So their team, they've been one of the most consistent teams I think in the league ever since day one. Season 1 they made the playoffs. Season 2 they made actually every season they've made the playoffs, but they just haven't really been able to get over that hump in the playoffs and actually get to a championship and compete for a championship. And I would actually say they're probably the most consistent team, period, outside of New York. But this year they've really made additions to the team to really get over that hump and win a championship. This is hands down the best team they have ever had. Look on paper, you never know once you get to the live games. But so we're gonna do a breakdown, starting with the tanks of the entire roster and kind of give you an idea of where their team stands. So we'll start with Space, and if you've followed the scene at all, you know who Space is. I mean, he's been around forever, played for the Valiant the first 2 seasons, I believe, in the league, and the Gladiators last season. And he's been one of the best, most consistent off takes in the league. There's not really much more that needs said about that. You know who he is. Really, really, really next level diva. And Zarya, he's just, they say, Widowmakers are cracked. He's a cracked diva, if that makes sense. He's just insane. So, he'll be playing off tank for them. And then their main tank is actually MuZe, and MuZe is kind of interesting. He is actually a rookie, for those that don't know, coming in from Contenders. He was in Contenders the last 2 seasons, I believe. And I don't actually watch a lot of Contenders. I stick to more Overwatch League, mostly. But from what I understand, he is one of, if not the best main tank coming out of Contenders. Really good Reinhardt, Winston, Orisa, all that stuff. And correct me if I'm wrong, Connor, what is the tank meta right now? Isn't it Ball and Orisa? Or
It's been that for about a month now. Hammond and Orisa have been in there. I believe Sigma as well.
Sigma?
Yeah, it comes in and out, based on what skill you're playing in. I know a lot of Diamond players like playing Ball and Zarya combos. Not really much of a main tank there, but you don't always need that, so it just depends on what skill rating you're playing in.
Right. Yeah, I think the pros have been playing a lot of Ball too. So they really have all their roles covered. Because MuZe can play most of the main tanks, and Space plays pretty much every off tank. So they really don't have a lot of gaps in the tank position. All in all, I think their tank duo has the potential to be one of the best, if not the best, in the league. If MuZe pans out, you can be the highest touted, rookie coming out of Contenders and just bomb in the Overwatch League. That happens. But I think he's going to be solid. So all in all, I think their tank line is, a little inexperienced because of MuZe, but I think it has the potential to be one of the best in the league, and that shouldn't be too much of an issue for them. So, moving over to the DPS, since they only have 2 tanks, which is interesting. The first DPS we'll talk about is birdring. Kind of like Space. If you've been following the scene, you know who birdring is. He won the championship with the Spitfire his first season in the league. He's played for the Gladiators in the most recent season. And he's been kind of up and down. He's had really high highs and really low lows. I know a lot of last year he kind of struggled, and then at the end of the year he just was killing everybody in the games, the last few games. So hopefully he can carry that over, because he is a crazy good Widowmaker. McCree, if you need him to play McCree, he can play Reaper. He has quite a bit of flexibility, actually. So they're really fortunate to have him. And then Mir, their second DPS on the team, he's more of a, I wouldn't say a specialist, but, he can play the Doomfist, Junkrat, Genji, some of that stuff. And he's been in the league for 2 years, I believe. both for the Gladiators, in fact. And he's a well above average DPS. I mean, he'll get the job done. And then Kevster rounds out the trio. He plays Pharah and he plays a lot of like Ashe. Actually, he played a lot of Ashe last year. He was very, very good at it. He can play Tracer, and he really emerged last year, in my opinion, and I think of most people's, as a borderline all-star caliber DPS. Like, he really impressed. So between birdring, Mirror, and Kevster, like that DPS trio is just straight crack. Like, they don't really have any holes either. Like, they're very, very, very well-rounded. So I really don't seeing them have like a lot of issues. Can't really think of a meta. I mean, they can cover, Widow, Ashe, Hanzo, Doom Chunk, Pharah, Tracer. And I think teams that have more than 2 DPS, most of them do this year, teams really learned from that. The last couple of years, the meta would change like halfway in the year, and if you only had 2 DPS and they couldn't cover the heroes that the meta changed to, you were just screwed. Like, you lost because they didn't have enough flexibility. And so pretty much you'll see every team with, at least 3 DPS this year, up to 5. I think Houston is the one with 5. But yeah, so their DPS lineup is super, super strong. It's probably I would say it's the strongest part of the team, even though the whole team is super strong. So, not a lot of concerns there, especially because they're all, unlike the tank line, those guys are all 2 or 3 year players, so they know what they're doing. What's the DPS meta kind of been like, Connor?
That is all over the place because my DPS is lower than all my other roles, so I have a mix of everything, but going off of, the higher tiered players, there seems to be a lot of Ashe, Echo, and McCree, I believe. And I think Tracer's in there as well. I'm not sure.
I think Tracer's really strong in the pro scene right now.
Yeah, and going off of what you're talking about for birdring, playing a lot of hitscan there with the Widowmaker, McCree, and actually that's all he plays for hitscan there. But the DPS he plays, they've had quite a few changes since the past season. Not much on, Widow there, but except for the health change. She got decreased health by 25, and that 25 health got added on to McCree. But McCree got a slower fire rate. They reversed the faster fire rate he had for, I believe that was like a year or so. Reaper got a damage buff and a range buff as well, so you can get into a fight as Reaper, get really close and do a lot more damage than you used to be able to. So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is I think we're going to see, last year there was a lot of Reaper Mei. There's like a Reaper Mei meta where they would play that together, and I kind of think we're going to see that again, just because of that Reaper buff and Mei being pretty strong still.
See, that could be a trade-off, though, because they could have been playing Mei and Reaper combo, so Mei can get a freeze off on someone, and Reaper could come in and, finish them off, because he couldn't do much from further away. But he could be more of a solo hero for himself now, and not really require a duo of any kind there. For Mirror, not much was changed on there. Genji had a little bit of a change for Shuriken speed, not much there. Doomfist hasn't been changed much, really, ever. And I believe for Kevster, Pharah got a little bit of a booster increase, so...
Yeah, it doesn't actually fly longer?
It's not fly longer. They regenerate a little bit faster, so as long as you are not holding onto the button, you should be able to, regenerate that faster and then hover a bit more, I guess, by constantly tapping it. Yeah, that's about all those changes on DPS, but I feel like with those changes, birdring's probably going to have the most to, get used to with the new changes. Of course, during training or stuff, they'll be able to do that. So I guess we'll end up seeing throughout the season, how those changes affect the team.
Yeah, I guess the only one you said there was Echo, and I don't know who on this team would play the Echo. Because Echo's been really strong. I think she still is. I don't really know who would play the Echo, because as far as I know, I haven't seen birdring play it. In fact, I haven't seen any of them play it.
Yeah, so for Echo, it's more of projectile and more air-based, so anyone who would play Pharah would be most likely to do that, so I believe that would be Kevster for that.
Kevster?
Yeah.
You're probably right, yeah. So, hopefully, I imagine they have coaches. I imagine that's something they've discussed on who will play the Echo, but that's really a nitpicky thing, honestly. But that's, the only problem I can see, and really that's something that's probably easily resolved and will be easily resolved. Alright, well, so we'll move to the supports then. So their support line is actually really interesting. They signed a Moth, and Moth, most of you know, played for the San Francisco Shock the last 3 seasons. All 3 seasons of the league so far, and won, the last 2 championships with them that they've won. And in the offseason, he decided to become a free agent and chose the Gladiators. They offered him, a contract, being that he's one of probably the best main support in the league. I don't even know off the top of my head who you would say is better than him. I mean, he's just, he's not flashy. He's not gonna pull out the battle mercy, because there's those players that'll pull out the battle mercy and just start pistol at people, and he's not that, but he is just consistent. Like, he's always gonna be there, and I really like that, and I think he's probably the best main support. So they're in really good shape there with him. And then the other two supports are Skewed and Shu. And Shu is, I'd say he's above average. He's a pretty good flex support. Plays a lot of Zen and BAP. I know he played a lot of BAP for the Guangzhou Charge last year. And I imagine he would probably start alongside Moth, because Skewed is a rookie and I don't know anything about him. Like, again, I don't really watch a lot of contenders. I know nothing about him. I'm assuming he's decent, but I don't really know. So I'm assuming Shu will start alongside Moth. Skewed will probably be like a Brig specialist, if I had to guess, because I don't think Shu plays a lot of Brig, and I don't think Moth does either. But between the three of them, they have pretty much all of the support roles pretty taken care of. So their support line, just like the rest of the lineup on this team, because this team is actually kind of crazy good, looks crazy good, is really, really solid. Do you know, Connor, what the meta is for supports right now? I assume it's probably, I'm sure Lucio's in there.
Actually, surprisingly, it's not. It's a lot of BAP and Mercy with some Zenyatta in there, and it's stayed that way for a while now, because with the damage boost you get from Mercy and the constant healing output you can get from her, combined with BAP's Immortality Field and the Amplification Matrix, a team can output a lot of damage, and the healers can get a lot of healing through that. So I think that's why the meta stayed like that for so long.
Okay. Yeah, I think that reinforces then. I think Shu and Moth will be the starting lineup, because Shu plays BAP at a very, very high level. I think that's probably his best hero, and Moth is the best Mercy. I mean, I guess Moth does play Brig, so I don't know what Skewed would come in for them. I guess actually Moth does play Brig, so I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, so no, I think their support line is extremely good. I like that they have three. I think it's good to always have a third player to sub in. If a guy needs a break for burnout or health or whatever, I think that's always a good thing. And I think that's probably my only really concern with this team, is that the tank line doesn't have that, because it's just Space and MuZe, and I'm not worried about Space. He's, this will be his 4th year in the league. I'm not worried about him, but I'm worried about MuZe. Not really his mechanics or his talent, just, you never know. But hopefully, as long as they don't have any issues there, they are really, really well-rounded. And then the coaches for this team, Deepay is the head coach. He's been there, I believe he's been there every year since the inaugural season, I want to say.
Yeah, since around November 2017, so that would have been first season, I believe.
I mean, he's a really highly regarded coach. I know the players have always talked highly of him, and they love playing for him, and I personally think he's a really good coach. I think a lot of people want to put the pitfalls of that roster, previous rosters, and previous years on him. I don't know about a lot of people, but I think there is some people, and I don't really think that's fair. I think there was they had strong rosters, but they had holes. At positions every year there was holes, but they had a lot of success. Like I said, they made the playoffs every year. So I think he's an exceptionally good coach. I think this team can really get over that hump, especially with him at head coach. I don't really know much about their assistant coaches, Face and Tidala. I really don't know much about them, but I don't really see any issues there. So yeah, overall, I mean, this team is just really solid. Do you have anything to add to that, really, Connor?
Yeah, when you were talking about Skewed and MuZe, it was, I believe, coming from contenders, and, you don't know much about them. I mean, with MuZe, when he was playing contenders, the games were, wins losses almost 50%, win ratio on those. But for Skewed, for the 2020 contenders, season 1, weeks 1 through 4, it was a loss, all 4 of those for his team. And then even for the finals for that, it was a complete loss. It was 0 wins, no losses. Actually, I believe it was 4 ties for finales or something like that. And it was straight up losses for a while. So that's kind of concerning. But with having
what team did he play for?
Let's actually see on that. It was OZ Gaming. Yeah, and that was not good. That does not look good on his record. Constant losses on that team.
I want to say that team was really bad. Like again, I don't watch contenders, but I want to say like from what I was hearing, like he's actually pretty good, and he was just on a really bad team. Because I mean, it's not like DPS, you're not, as a support player, you're not going to be on a bad team and just carry a team to victories.
Oh yeah, I totally understand that because you see my fall of over 900 SR over the course of a few seasons, falling from basically
Right.
masters down to like now gold range, and it
Yeah.
sucks.
So I think he's actually pretty talented. I think they were kind of a bad team that year, from what I understand. So I wouldn't that is like that's a fair concern. Don't get me wrong. When a guy is lost that much, is he gonna be motivated? I mean, will he be motivated to win after losing that much, or will losing that much just kind of deflate him? Like, will he have that drive? And I think coming into a good team, I think he will. But that is a fair point.
Yeah, there are a few wins in there though. For the Overwatch Korea Cup in November of 2019, that was a win 3-0 against Kodakji. I don't know how to pronounce that. I probably butchered it.
I don't know. There's
but when he was playing on
contenders' names
Geekstar.
in general are just weird.
Yeah, and then shortly after, when the Gladiators went against the Atlanta Reign in the Valiant Winter Ball of December 2020, that was a 3-0 game, so that was actually a pretty good win on their end. But then for the Steel Series Invitational in February of this year against Uprising, that was a loss 0-3. So it seems to go back and forth, but it seems like being on the official league now, it seems to be picked up a bit because after those weeks 1 through 4 of contenders, all those losses there, it looks pretty bad, but then when he comes into the league, it looks a little bit better. Of course, there's only 2 games in there, though, from, 3 months ago? 4 months ago?
Did the Gladiators lost the Steel Series against Boston?
Yeah, against Boston, yeah, it was 0-3.
Oh, I thought they had won that. Okay.
Wait a minute, I think I read this wrong. I am reading this wrong. The result says 0-3 on Skewed's individual page, but when you go to the Steel Series Invitational, turns out Gladiators won, Uprising was second, and then third and fourth were Eternal and Spitfire.
Yeah, I don't know if you read it wrong or it's listed wrong. I was gonna say I thought the Gladiators won that. So
Yeah, Gladiators did win that one. And
yeah,
double checking on the Valiant Winter Ball, it shows on his page that Gladiators won, and on the official Valiant Winter Ball, Gladiators won. So it must have been a mess up on the page.
yeah, okay, yeah. I was gonna say I thought they won that. So yeah, they looked really strong in that. And I watched the Steel Series Invitational because it's like a preseason tournament, it's a chance to see the teams, and the Gladiators looked really strong, and they won, I'd say, pretty comfortably. And birdring, honestly, actually, as we talked about, he's kind of a high-low player. He actually didn't play that good. I wouldn't put too much stock into that since it's just a preseason tournament essentially. But even without him playing well, they pretty much ruled. They looked really good. So I think we've said kind of what we wanted to about this team. I mean, they're really good top to bottom. So something we're gonna do, I guess I probably should have said this earlier, but that's fine, is we're gonna put all the teams in a tier at the end of all the episodes and kind of just add to it with each team preview. So what are you kind of thinking for where would you put this team, Connor? I think we both have a pretty good idea, but
Well, with not comparing to other teams, I mean, it would be kind of hard to figure out. But based on their roster, if we were doing an S A B C D F or S A B C D, I don't know if any team would be considered an F because that would be like contenders maybe. I would probably put Gladiators around A range. I mean, only because they only have 2 tank players there. They have no one to sub, and that could be kind of put a toll on the team. And with their DPS, they have a really good DPS lineup with projectile and hit scan and close quarters characters. So I feel like that's gonna be good. A really good support pool there. A lot of BAP, Brig, Zen, Lucio, Ana. So great supports on that end.
yeah, I pretty much echo that sentiment. Then I kind of agree. I think I'd probably put them A tier as well. With I would say the ability to punch up into S tier. And I'm not saying they will, but I think on paper you look at that roster, like if MuZe comes in and he just claps people and he's amazing and he's everything we think he is. And I don't think actually we even need a lot out of Skewed, being he's going to be probably a backup. But if he turns out to be a good hit too, I would say this team has the potential. I'd say A tier now, potential to punch into S with the top teams, and we'll get to who's in the S tier later. But I think this team easily is a top 5 team. Top 5. I'd say maybe top 6. If they don't finish top 5, 6, like that would be a major disappointment, especially with the players they picked up and the ones they brought back from last year. Like that would be really disappointing for this team.
All right, so that's about all we have for that team. So what's the next team we're going to go over?
We will be covering the Titans in our next one.
Ooh, that's going to be a kind of a doozy to cover, actually. I've heard, you know, some bad things about the Titans from other people, actually. So that's gonna be an interesting one to get into.
Mainly me. I won't lie. Like,
Well, not just you.
yeah, no, they're not gonna be very good. But we'll get into that in the next episode.
And that's all we have for this episode. Feel free to click on the bell icon to get notified when we have a new upload, and feel free to follow us on Twitter. Links in the description below.